the issue of cost of doing business in a merger and acquisition environment. Now, I'd like us to continue with that in terms of the impact on job creation, the issue of the operating system, integration of the parties involved.
Okay, back to what I was saying. So you have to harmonize certain functions because there are duplications of those functions in both institutions. But beyond that, the other aspect of the human capital happens that each organization, over a period of time, begin to carry some deadwoods in terms of staff, efficiency of staff. And basically what happens that when a change management comes, that will do not hold any legacy obligation to some of those deadwoods. Legacy obligations that there are people who are not efficient, you are carrying them because they were there, they've been loyal, and so many factors that are not economically driven. So change agents, when they come into organizations, one of the first things they do an assessment of the human capital, and ultimately, in most instances, they will sever the relationship with those who are not efficient. And that's why you see job losses. And I always take a look. I was in the market industry during the consolidation of 2005, 2006. And because I was also occupying a role that will entail harmonization. And a couple of my friends and relations asked me, so what are you thinking of? Were you going to be afraid of losing your job? I said, look, I remember I used the word that Citibank and Goldman Sachs and all the big institutional banks had this particular role I was occupying. And that if only one person was going to occupy that post in Nigeria that I'm qualified enough to occupy it, that I wasn't afraid of losing my job. So the key thing is that efficient people are never lose their job in periods of consolidation. What happens that the new management will rather have to win them over to even make them to stay. But the weaker members of the organizations will lose their jobs. But what eventually happens that because consolidation spurs growth, a new crop of people are employed that are efficient. And that's why you see in most instances where people are complaining that they've been laid off, the same institution about the same time will also be advertising to recruit more efficient people. Like I said, what happens is that over a period of time, institutions find out that they are carrying some laggards because they have, either they become complacent as an entity or they owe some kind of moral duties or obligations to some of those laggards, because they may have been deficient in the past, and over time they grew out of their competence, they grew beyond their competence level, and they are beginning to carry them as their deadwoods. So when new organizations or change agents come in, they sweep them out.
All right.
But they also recruit more qualified people.
I'd like to touch on this issue, which has to do with loan recovery in one institution. When a bank or a financial company, a financial institution takes over the operation of another one, there are issues that has to do with debt recovery. How do you think that would be handled, or how should that be handled?
Well, the issue of debt recovery, I think because we're coming from a period of a crisis where most of those debts were sold to AMCON, it may not be very pronounced in today's consolidation. But there are also issues that you have to recognize that happens in this recovery. In most institutions, like I was talking of, people who are being carried no longer because of their efficiency or effectiveness as employees, but because the institution owed them some legal obligations in the past. There are also what you call policy loans. Those policy loans were loans not granted not purely because of economic justification of the lending, but because some people who had political leverage or influence on the management of the bank had brought those influence to bear on them and then attracted loans which ordinarily should not have been granted to them. In most instances, such management find it difficult to recover such loans. When a new management comes or new ownership comes, because they also do not have that attachment on, they are not beholden by whatever political or economic influence the borrowers of such loans have, they go all out to recover them. Policy loans could be granted to directors. So when such directors lose their directorship as a result of acquisition, then the new management will go after such loans. There are also people who have contributed in one way or have some other influence or had supported the acquired bank in some ways and have also been paid or granted sweetheart loans. What new management when they come up, they either reprise those loans or call them back. So you also have intensity in loan recovery when the new management come in. It's just like when they say the fellow that did not know Joseph. When a new fellow comes on stream and doesn't know Joseph, you go on out to extract full value for the assets of the bank that are held in the hands of whoever is holding them in form of borrowers.
Okay, I was talking to someone a while ago on the program, and I was of the view that now that AMCON seems to have bought over most of the debts in the banking sector, and all of these banks, some of them are actually acquiring another. Are we now free? Are we immune to bad debts in the financial market? Do you think perhaps in the short term we will not have any form of exposure in terms of bad debts?
No. You see, the issue of bad debt is an attribute of the banking system. Businesses fail, projects fail, and there's nothing anybody anywhere in the world has ever done to successfully ensure businesses from failing or projects from failing. So the issue of bad debt is a continuous process, just like people are born and people die. Institutions have their periods of early stages, they have their period of growth, maturity, and decline. And then at the period of decline, a lot of things could go bad. But you also have economic misadventure, wrong investment decisions that could trip a company to fail. You also have some economic upheavals, shift in economic structures that could also lead to failure of businesses. But the basic fact is that there's no way anybody in any economy can take measures to forestall in its entirety the failure of institutions or borrowers or the incidence of bad debt. But the key thing is that banks, if they have a rigorous credit approval process, if they have an efficient monitoring system, will reduce the incidence of bad debt to the barest minimum, but can never eradicate it.
Okay, very, very quickly, just before I let you go, Johnson, let's get back to the capital market in just a few minutes. And I want to ask you about the deadline for the recapitalization of brokerage firms in the capital market. Do you think that the SSA should shift the date, or should it remain and let this brokerage firms now begin to think of merging to expand their businesses?
Well, what I've always told my fellow operators in the market is that, but for the mortgage sector, the government does not have history of shifting the deadline on capitalization policies. The banking industry, despite all the cries and outcries, never shifted for one day. I do not think the market operators, the market regulator, the SEC will shift the deadline. The key thing is that it is time for operators that do not have the financial wherewithal to go it alone, to find and best fit partners to consolidate or merge with.
Okay, at this point I'd like to say thank you for coming on Business Morning. Thank you so much, Johnson Chukwu. I have to let you go at this point. Johnson Chukwu is the CEO at Cowrie Assets Management Limited, and we're looking at mergers and acquisition in the financial sector, and we talked about the economy at 54 just before then. Just remind our viewers that tomorrow we'll continue to look at the economy so far, journey of 54 years. How far have we gone, and what should the government be doing to move forward and record better records of improvement and, of course, growth here in the economy? And also to let you know that there will be a number of data to be released across the globe, from Europe to the US. So keep our eyes on these numbers and get them released to you here on the show tomorrow. I want to thank everyone out there for taking out time to watch Business Morning. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. I am Bolaji Akinwale.